The Great Hall of Velanthos was the most beautiful place Commander Park Do-hyun had ever seen. Crystal pillars rose from the floor like frozen waterfalls. Light from 3 suns poured through windows made of something that looked like liquid gold. The ceiling was so high that clouds actually formed near the top, but Do-hyun did not feel amazed. He felt small, and that was exactly what the villain wanted him to feel. He stood in the center of the hall with his 2 officers. Lieutenant Yoon Hana was on his right. She was young, barely 30 years old, but she was the best communications officer in the fleet. Dr. Baek Ji-soo stood on his left. She had spent 20 years studying alien species, and right now her face showed no emotion at all. Around them, in seats that rose like a mountain, sat the representatives of 12 alien races. They were the Galactic Confederation, and they had ruled the stars for 10,000 years. Some of them had bodies like insects. Others looked like living stones. A few seemed to be made of pure light, but the Velen were the leaders. They sat at the highest point, looking down at the 3 humans like gods looking at ants. The Velen were tall. The shortest one was 3 meters high. Their skin was silver, and it seemed to glow from inside. They had 4 eyes arranged in a diamond pattern on their faces. When they moved, it was slow and graceful, like dancers moving through water. High Arbiter Molak was their leader. He was the tallest Velen in the room, and his silver skin had lines of gold running through it like veins. He wore robes made of some material that changed color every few seconds. Right now, he was smiling. Do-hyun did not like that smile. "So," Molak said. His voice was deep and smooth, like honey mixed with thunder. "The insects have come to beg." Laughter filled the hall. It came from every direction, from every species. Do-hyun felt his face grow hot, but he kept his expression calm. "We have not come to beg," he said. His voice was steady. "We have come to request equal trade rights. Humanity has much to offer the Confederation." More laughter. Molak raised one of his 4-fingered hands, and the room went silent. "Much to offer?" He repeated. "Let us see what the insects have brought us." He gestured, and a Velen servant came forward carrying a metal box. Inside were the gifts humanity had sent: a small fusion reactor, a quantum computer core, and a sample of the new metal alloy that Earth scientists had created. Molak picked up the fusion reactor. It was small enough to fit in his palm, but it could power a city for 100 years. Human engineers had worked for decades to make it. Molak dropped it on the floor. Then he stepped on it. The crunch was loud in the silent hall. "Primitive," he said. He picked up the quantum computer. This one had taken even longer to develop. It could perform calculations that would take normal computers 1,000,000 years. Molak crushed it in his fist. "Useless," he said. Hana made a small sound beside Do-hyun. He could feel her shaking with anger. He wanted to reach out and calm her, but he could not move. He could not show any weakness. Molak picked up the metal alloy sample. He looked at it for a moment, then threw it across the room. It hit the floor with a clang that echoed through the hall. "You have nothing we want," Molak said. He walked down from his seat, his robes flowing behind him. Each step brought him closer to the humans. "Your species is young. You have existed for what? A few 100,000 years? We were building empires when your ancestors were still living in caves." He stopped right in front of Do-hyun. Even though Molak was standing on the same level now, he still towered over the human commander. "You are short-lived," Molak continued. "Your bodies are weak. Your minds are slow. You are not partners. You are not equals. You are workers, servants. That is your place in this galaxy." Do-hyun looked up at the alien. He met those 4 eyes and did not look away. "And if we refuse?" he asked quietly. Molak laughed. It was not a pleasant sound. "Refuse? You cannot refuse. Your little planet is alone in the darkness. You have no fleet. You have no allies. You have nothing but your pride. And pride does not stop warships. He leaned down until his face was close to Dawn's. Your species will serve in our mining colonies. You will dig in the dirt of 100 worlds. You will work until you die, and then your children will take your place. That is not a threat, little insect. That is simply the truth. Dawn said nothing. There was nothing to say. Molech straightened up and turned away. This meeting is over. Take the insects back to their ship. Let them go home and tell their leaders what I have said. Guards came forward. They were not Velen, but another species, large creatures with thick armor plates covering their bodies. They surrounded the three humans and began pushing them toward the door. Hannah was crying silently. Tears ran down her face, but she made no sound. Dr. Beak walked with her head high, but her hands were shaking. Doyun walked between them. His face was calm. His steps were steady, but inside his mind, he was remembering something. He was remembering a conversation he had before he left Earth. Admiral Shin Yunji had called him into her office. She had looked at him with eyes that were cold and hard. "They will insult you," she had said. "They will mock you. They will treat you like dirt. And you will let them. Do you understand? You will let them." Dahyun had asked why, and the Admiral had smiled. It was a small smile, a secret smile. Because, she had said, we want them to think we are weak. We want them to believe they have nothing to fear from us. And when the time comes, when we finally show them what humanity can do, their shock will be the greatest weapon we have. Dahan walked out of the Great Hall. Behind him, the aliens were still laughing. They would not be laughing for long. The elevator went down for a long time. Dahyun watched the numbers on the screen change. 1 kilometer, 2 kilometers, 3 kilometers beneath the surface of Earth. When the doors finally opened, Admiral Shin Yunji was waiting for them. She was a small woman, barely 160 centimeters tall. Her hair was completely white, even though she was only 50 years old. People said the hair turned white in a single night, many years ago, when something terrible happened. Nobody knew what that something was. Nobody dared to ask. "Commander Park," she said. "Lieutenant Yoon, Dr. Beak, welcome to Project Phantom." The room they walked into was enormous. It was carved out of solid rock, deep beneath the mountains of Korea. Hundreds of people worked at computer stations. Giant screens covered the walls, showing images of stars and planets and things Doyun did not recognize. "What is this place?" Hannah asked. Her voice was a whisper. "This is where we keep our secrets," Admiral Yunji said. She began walking, and they followed her. "For 100 years, we have been preparing. For 100 years, we have let the galaxy believe we were weak and primitive and harmless. Every failed experiment we showed them, every piece of simple technology we offered as gifts, it was all theater. A performance. A lie." She stopped in front of a large screen. On it was a ship, but it was not like any ship Doyun had ever seen. It was long and dark, shaped like a knife blade. There were no lights on it, no markings. It looked like a shadow given solid form. "This is the HS Silent Dawn," Admiral Yunji said. "It is 5 kilometers long. It carries weapons that the Velen cannot imagine. And it has been orbiting their home world for 3 years. Dahyun stared at the screen. "That is impossible. The Velen have sensors everywhere. They scan every ship that enters their system. They would have found it. They did not find it," a new voice said. A man walked toward them from one of the computer stations. He was tall and thin, with glasses that made his eyes look too big for his face. "Chief Engineer Kang Minho. I built her." He touched the screen, and the image of the ship changed. Now it showed the same ship, but surrounded by colorful lines and waves. The Velen use cloaking technology, Minho explained. But their cloaking is simple. It bends light around the ship, makes it invisible to eyes. Our cloaking is different. We do not just hide from light. We hide from everything. Heat sensors cannot see us. Gravity sensors cannot find us. Even the background radiation of space flows around us like water around a stone. We are truly invisible. Dr. Beak stepped closer to the screen. Her eyes were wide with wonder. How long have we had this technology? 60 years, Admiral Yunji said. We cracked the basic science 60 years ago. We have been improving it ever since. The Silent Dawn is just the beginning. We have 11 more ships in construction. All of them invisible. All of them deadly. Hannah shook her head slowly. Why? Why did we hide this? Why did we let them treat us like animals when we could have shown them our power? Admiral Yunji's face became hard. Because power without patience is wasted. We needed time. Time to build more ships. Time to learn their weaknesses. Time to map their defenses. And we needed something else. Something important. What? Do-hyun asked. Justification. The Admiral touched another button, and the screen changed again. Now it showed a planet. A human colony. Do-hyun recognized it immediately. Proxima 4, one of humanity's first settlements among the stars. 50,000 people lived there. The image changed. Now there were ships in orbit. Velen warships. Their weapons were firing. The planet's surface was burning. 3 days ago, Admiral Yunji said, her voice flat and cold. The Velen attacked Proxima 4. They gave no warning. They made no demands. They simply appeared and began killing. When they were finished, 15,000 human beings were dead. Men, women, children, all of them gone. Hannah covered her mouth with her hand. Tears were forming in her eyes again. Why? Dr. Beak asked. Why would they do this? They called it pest control. Admiral Yunji's hands were shaking. It was the only sign of emotion she showed. High Arbiter Moloch announced it to the Confederation. He said humans were spreading too fast. He said we needed to be reminded of our place. He said killing 15,000 of us was like stepping on insects. Silence filled the room. Do-hyun felt something cold growing in his chest. It was not fear. It was not sadness. It was rage. Pure, clean, perfect rage. What do you want us to do? He asked. Admiral Yunji looked at him. For a moment, something that might have been a smile crossed her face. I want you to take command of the Silent Dawn. I want you to jump to the Volanto system. I want you to position yourself directly above their capital city, where High Arbiter Moloch is probably sleeping in his golden bed, dreaming of all the insects he has crushed. She stepped closer to Do-hyun. Her eyes burned with cold fire. And then I want you to turn off the cloak. I want you to let them see you. I want you to show them exactly what humanity has been hiding. And I want you to make them understand that they made a terrible, terrible mistake. Do-hyun thought about the Great Hall. He thought about Moloch's smile. He thought about the laughter that had followed him out the door. He thought about 15,000 dead humans on a burning world. When do I leave? He asked. Admiral Yunji nodded. Your crew is already assembled. 12,000 volunteers. All of them know this might be a one-way trip. All of them wanted to go anyway. She held out her hand. In it was a small metal device. The command key for the Silent Dawn. Do-hyun took it. It felt heavy in his palm. Heavy with responsibility. Heavy with hope. Heavy with revenge. Make them remember us, Admiral Yunji said. Make them remember what happens when you hurt humanity. Do-hyun closed his fingers around the key. I will, he said. I promise. The silent dawn was waiting for them in the darkness between stars. Even knowing it was there, Do-hyun could not see it. The shuttle flew closer and closer, and still there was nothing but empty space. Then, suddenly, a door opened in the void. Light poured out like blood from a wound. The shuttle slipped inside, and the door closed behind them. Do-hyun stepped out of the shuttle and looked around. The landing bay was enormous. Hundreds of smaller ships sat in neat rows. Thousands of crew members moved between them, checking systems, loading supplies, preparing for war. A woman was waiting for him. She was short and strong, with shoulders like a fighter. Her uniform was perfectly clean. Her boots perfectly shined. Everything about her was perfectly military. "Navigation Officer Suk-jin," she said, saluting. "I will be guiding us to Volanto's commander." "How long will the journey take?" Do-hyun asked. 6 hours through fold space. We will arrive at midnight, their time." A man joined them. He was big, with hands that looked like they could crush metal, which made sense because crushing metal was part of his job. "Weapons Chief Taeyeon," he said. His voice was deep and rough, like rocks grinding together. "All systems are ready, Commander. The Helios cannons are charged and waiting." "Helios cannons?" Han asked. Taeyeon smiled. It was not a friendly smile. "We take plasma from stars. Real plasma from real stars. We store it in magnetic bottles. When we fire, we release that plasma in a focused beam. One shot can cut through any armor. One shot can kill any ship. The Valen have never seen anything like it." Dr. Beak had wandered away from the group. She was looking at something on a wall. It was a list of names. 15,000 names. "The dead from Proxima 4, she said quietly. "You put their names on the wall. Every crew member walks past this wall every day," a new voice said. A young woman approached them. She had a soft face and kind eyes, but there was steel in her voice. "Tactical Officer Cho Yuna. I wanted everyone to remember why we are here. Not for glory. Not for power. For them." Do-hyun read some of the names. Kim Soin, age 7. Park Jun-woo, age 83. Lee Mina, age 25. Regular people. Families. Children who never grew up. Old people who should have died peacefully in their sleep. "We will remember," he said. The next few hours passed quickly. Do-hyun met more of his officers. Specialist Wang Dan was in charge of electronic warfare. She was young, barely 25, but she had already broken into more alien computer systems than anyone else in human history. "Their security is good," she admitted, "but not good enough. I have been studying their networks for 2 years. When we attack, I will shut down their communications in seconds. They will not be able to call for help. They will not be able to coordinate their defense. They will be blind and deaf and alone." Chief Engineer Minho joined them on the bridge as the ship prepared to jump. The bridge was a large circular room with screens on every surface. In the center was the command chair. Do-hyun sat down in it. It fit him perfectly. "All stations report ready," Soo-jin said from her position at the navigation console. "Weapons hot and waiting." Taeyang confirmed. "Electronic warfare systems active." Dan added. Hannah took her place at the communication station. Dr. Beak stood beside Do-hyun, watching everything with sharp eyes. "Begin jump sequence," Do-hyun ordered. The ship shuddered. Space itself seemed to bend around them. Through the main screen, Do-hyun watched as stars stretched into long lines of light. The universe twisted and folded. Then, with a sound like thunder, they were gone. 6 hours passed inside the fold space tunnel. Do-hyun did not sleep. He could not sleep. He spent the time walking through the ship, talking to his crew. He wanted to see their faces. He wanted to know who he was leading into battle. He found engineers checking the engines. He found soldiers cleaning their weapons. He found doctors preparing medical bays. Everyone he met had the same look in their eyes: determination, anger, hope. A young man stopped him in one of the hallways. He was just a technician, nobody important. But he had tears in his eyes. "My sister was on Proxima 4, he said. She was a teacher. She taught children how to read. She never hurt anyone in her life." Dahim put a hand on the young man's shoulder. "What was her name?" he asked. "No, Yaren." Doan nodded. "I will remember her. When we make them pay, I will remember her name." The jump ended at exactly midnight, Volanthos time. The silent dawn emerged from fold space at the edge of the system. Around them, space was full of activity. Defense stations floated everywhere. Patrol ships moved in constant patterns. 300 Velen warships sat in orbit around the planet. None of them saw the silent dawn. The human ship drifted forward, silent as death. It passed within meters of a defense station. Velen officers sat inside, drinking and laughing. They did not know that humanity's revenge was floating right outside their window. "Take us in closer," Do-hyun said. Sujin's hands moved across her console. The ship slipped past patrol after patrol. It weaved between warships. It flew through sensor fields that should have detected it instantly. Nothing. No alarms. No warnings. The Velen had no idea they were there. Finally, the silent dawn stopped. Below them was the grand citadel of Volanthos. The same building where Do-hyun had been humiliated. Where Moloch had crushed human technology beneath his feet. Where the galaxy had laughed at humanity. "Position achieved," Sujin reported. "We are directly above the capital." "The celebration is still happening," Hana said, her voice tight. "They are celebrating the attack on Proxima 4. Moloch is giving a speech about how humans are insects that must be controlled." Do-hyun looked at the planet below. Somewhere down there, Moloch was smiling. Somewhere down there, aliens were laughing at the deaths of 15,000 humans. "All weapons lock on target," Do-hyun said. "Prepare to decloak." The bridge went silent. Everyone held their breath. "On my mark," Do-hyun continued. "We show them who we really are." He stood up from his command chair. His eyes were fixed on the grand citadel. 3, 2, 1, mark. The cloak fell away. The silent dawn appeared from nothing, a 5-kilometer shadow in the sky. Every alarm in the Velen system began to scream at once, and far below, inside the grand citadel, High Arbiter Moloch looked up and saw the end of his world. For 3 seconds, nothing happened. The silent dawn hung in the sky like a mountain that had learned to float. Its shadow fell across the grand citadel, blocking the light of the 3 suns. Inside the celebration hall, thousands of Velen looked up through the crystal ceiling and saw something impossible. Then the screaming started. High Arbiter Moloch was in the middle of his speech when the ship appeared. He was talking about how the attack on Proxima 4 showed the galaxy that humans were nothing. He was saying that humanity would learn its place or be destroyed. His voice was confident and strong. Now the voice was gone. Moloch stood frozen, his 4 eyes wide, his silver skin turning pale. The wine glass in his hand fell to the floor and shattered. "What is that?" someone shouted. "Where did it come from?" "Sound the alarm. Call the fleet." "The sensors show nothing." "How can we see it, but the sensors show nothing?" Chaos exploded through the Velen capital. Military commanders ran to their posts. Soldiers grabbed their weapons. Ships tried to launch from their landing pads. Everyone was shouting. Everyone was panicking. Everyone was trying to understand how a ship that size could appear from nowhere. But it was already too late. On the bridge of the silent dawn, Specialist Wang Dan pressed a single button. "Jamming active," she said calmly. Across the planet. Every communication system went dead. Commanders could not reach their soldiers. Ships could not talk to each other. The orbital defense stations suddenly found their controls frozen. The 300 warships in orbit tried to coordinate an attack, but their signals disappeared into static dot. The Velen fleet was the most powerful force in the galaxy. They had conquered 1,000 worlds. They had never lost a battle in 10,000 years. Now they were blind, deaf, helpless. Target their flagships, Doyun ordered. Fire Helios cannons. Weapons Chief O Taeyun smiled his unfriendly smile. His thick fingers moved across the controls. With pleasure, Commander. The Silent Dawn shuddered as its main weapons activated. 3 ports opened along its hull. Inside them, plasma that had been collected from the heart of a star began to glow. The light was so bright that it hurt to look at. Even through the screens, 3 beams of pure, stellar fire shot across space. The Velen flagship was called the Eternal Glory. It was 2 kilometers long and armed with enough weapons to destroy a planet. Its shields were the strongest in the Confederation. Its captain was a hero who had fought in 100 battles. The Helios beam hit it dead center. The shields held for almost half a second. Then they collapsed like paper in a fire. The beam continued through the ship, cutting it in half like a knife through bread. The 2 pieces spun away into space, burning and breaking apart. The second flagship died just as quickly. The third tried to run, its engines firing at maximum power. It did not get far. The beam caught it from behind and turned it into a cloud of melting metal and escaping air. The entire Velen fleet went silent. They had just watched 3 of their most powerful ships die in seconds. They had never seen weapons like this. They did not know such weapons could exist. Open a channel, Doyun said. All frequencies. I want every being on that planet and every ship in this system to hear me. Hannah worked at her console. Channel open, Commander. Doyun stood. He looked at the planet below, at the Grand Citadel, where Molek was probably still standing frozen with fear. When he spoke, his voice was calm and steady. He did not sound angry. He did not sound excited. He sounded like a man delivering facts. This is Commander Park Do-yoon of the Human Defense Force. I am speaking to High Arbiter Molek and the people of Volantos. In the Grand Citadel, the broadcast appeared on every screen. Molek stared at the image of the human commander. The same man he had called an insect. The same man he had laughed at and dismissed. For decades he called us insects, Do-yoon continued. You enslaved our people. You took our resources. You treated us like animals. 3 days ago, you murdered 15,000 of our civilians on Proxima 4. You called it pest control. On the bridge, Tactical Officer Cho Yuna was watching the Vine fleet. They are trying to form an attack pattern, she reported. Should we fire again? Do-yoon held up a hand. Not yet. We are not pests, he said into the broadcast. We are not insects. We are not primitive. For 100 years, we have been watching you, learning you, building weapons you cannot imagine and ships you cannot see. You thought you knew us. You knew nothing. He stepped closer to the screen. His face filled the image. Every Velen on the planet could see his eyes. This is your only warning. Release every human prisoner from your labor camps. Pay reparations for the attack on Proxima 4, and never touch another human world again. He paused. If you refuse, if you attack us, if you hurt another human being, we will come back. And next time, we will not stop with 3 ships. The Velen fleet was moving now. They were scared, but they were also proud. They could not let a human threaten them like this. 200 warships turned toward the Silent Dawn, their weapons charging. Commander, Yuna said, they are preparing to fire. Do-yoon nodded. Target their weapon systems. Disable. Do not destroy. I want them alive to spread the story. The Helios cannons fired again. And again. And again. Each shot was precise, surgical. It hit exactly where Taeyeon aimed it. Weapon ports exploded. Engine sections went dark. Shield generators burned out. In 47 minutes, 200 Velen warships were floating dead in space. Their hulls were intact, but they could not fight. They could not run. They could only watch as the human ship moved slowly among them like a wolf walking through a field of sleeping sheep. Inside the Grand Citadel, High Arbiter Moloch fell to his knees. His robes spread around him on the floor. His 4 eyes were empty. His mind was trying to understand what was happening, and it could not. One of his advisors ran to him. "High Arbiter, what do we do? What do we do?" Moloch looked up at the ceiling. The silent dawn was still there. Its shadow still covered the citadel. At any moment, it could fire. At any moment, it could end everything. "Tell them," Moloch whispered. His voice was broken. "Tell them we accept their terms." The advisor stared at him. "But High Arbiter, our honor?" Moloch laughed. It was an ugly sound, full of fear and shame. "Our honor is nothing. Our fleet is nothing. Our power is nothing. Tell them we surrender." On the bridge of the silent dawn, Hana listened to the transmission. A small smile appeared on her face. "Commander," she said, "they are surrendering. They accept all our terms." Diane did not smile. He looked at the defeated fleet. He looked at the planet where 15,000 humans had been called pests. He thought about No Yeren, the teacher who never hurt anyone. "Good," he said quietly. "That is the smart choice." He turned to his crew. They were watching him, waiting for his next order. "We are not monsters," he said. "We came here for justice, not for revenge. The Velen will remember this day. They will remember that humanity is not weak. They will remember that we can hurt them. But they will also remember that we chose to show mercy. That is the difference between us and them." He sat back down in his command chair. "Maintain position. We stay here until every human prisoner is released. Until every agreement is signed. Until they understand that this is not the end. This is just the beginning." Below them, the Velen began the long process of surrender. And above them, the silent dawn waited, patient as death, invisible no more. The great hall of the Galactic Confederation looked different now. The crystal pillars still rose toward the clouds. The light from 3 suns still poured through golden windows. But the feeling in the room had changed completely. 1 month had passed since the silent dawn appeared above Volantos. 1 month since the Velen fleet was destroyed in 47 minutes. 1 month since High Arbiter Moloch fell to his knees and surrendered. Now, for the first time in history, humanity was walking into this hall not as beggars, but as equals. Admiral Shin Yoonji led the delegation. She wore her dress uniform, white and gold, with medals covering her chest. Behind her walked Commander Park Do-yoon, Lieutenant Yoon Hana, and Dr. Baek Ji-soo. They walked slowly, proudly, their footsteps echoing in the silent hall. The representatives of the 12 alien races watched them approach. There was no laughter this time. There were no smiles. Every face showed the same expression, fear. The Velen were there too, but they sat in the lowest seats now, not the highest. High Arbiter Moloch was not among them. He had resigned from his position 3 days after the battle. Some said he had not spoken a single word since that night. Some said he spent his days staring at the sky, waiting for human ships to appear again. Admiral Yoonji stopped in the center of the hall. She looked around at the faces of the galaxy's rulers. These were beings who had treated humanity like dirt. They had laughed when Moloch crushed human technology beneath his feet. They had clapped when he called humans insects. Now they sat in silence, afraid to even meet her eyes. "We are here to present humanity's terms," Unji said. Her voice was clear and strong, filling every corner of the hall. "They are simple. They are fair. And they are not negotiable." She held up a data tablet and began reading. "First, humanity will be recognized as an equal member of the Galactic Confederation. We will have full voting rights. Our voice will carry the same weight as any other species." No one objected. "Second, the Velen Empire will pay reparations for the attack on Proxima. 4. 1 trillion credits will be transferred to the families of the victims. Another trillion will be used to rebuild the colony." Still no objection. "Third, every human being held in Velen labor camps will be released immediately. Ships are already waiting to bring them home. Any delay will be considered an act of war." A Velen representative opened his mouth to speak. Then he saw Yunji's eyes, and he closed it again. "Fourth, the Galactic Confederation will sign a non-aggression treaty with humanity. Any attack on human territory by any member species will be considered an attack on all of humanity, and we will respond accordingly." Unji lowered the tablet. "These are our terms. Does anyone wish to object?" The hall was silent. The representatives looked at each other. They looked at the ground. They looked anywhere except at the human admiral standing before them. "Very well," Yunji said. "Let the record show that the terms were accepted unanimously." She turned and began walking out of the hall. The other humans followed her. As they passed through the door, Do-yoon heard a sound behind him. It was soft, almost a whisper. "How?" He stopped and turned. One of the alien representatives had spoken. It was a member of a species Do-yoon did not recognize, a being made of blue crystal with lights flickering inside its body. "How did you hide this from us?" the alien asked. "We scanned your planet. We studied your technology. We watched you for 200 years. How did we not see?" Do-yoon looked at the alien for a long moment. Then he looked at the other representatives, at the Velens sitting in their low seats, at the empty chair where Moloch used to sit. "You never looked," he said simply. "You were so sure we were beneath you that you never considered we might be ahead of you. You saw what you expected to see, and we showed you exactly what you expected." He turned back toward the door. "That was your mistake. Do not make it again." The shuttle ride back to the Silent Dawn was quiet. Yunji sat with her eyes closed, resting for the first time in weeks. Hana was reading messages from Earth, smiling at the news of celebrations across the planet. Dr. Beek was writing notes, already planning how to study the effects of this victory on galactic politics. Do-yoon sat alone, looking out the window at the stars. A figure sat down next to him. It was Yunji, her eyes now open. "You did well, Commander," she said. "Better than I hoped." "I did what was necessary," Do-yoon replied. Unji nodded. "The Silent Dawn was our first ship. Our prototype. Did you know that?" Do-yoon looked at her. "I knew. We have 11 more in construction. By next year, we will have 20. By the year after that, 50. She paused. "If any of them try to hurt us again, we will be ready." "Do you think they will try?" Do-yoon asked. Unji was quiet for a moment. "Some of them will accept a new reality. They will trade with us, work with us, maybe even become our allies. But others will hate us. They will hate that we tricked them. They will hate that we beat them. They will want revenge. And when they come for it?" Yunji smiled. It was a tired smile, but there was iron behind it. "Then we will show them that what happened at Volantos was just the beginning. We will show them that humanity does not forget. We do not forgive. And we do not lose." The shuttle docked with the Silent Dawn. Do-yoon walked through the familiar corridors, past crew members who saluted him, past the wall where 15,000 names were written. He stopped at that wall for a moment. He found one name among the thousands. No, Yaren, teacher. We got justice for you, he said quietly. It is not enough. It will never be enough. But it is something. He continued to the observation deck. Through the massive windows, he could see the stars spreading out in every direction. Somewhere out there were human colonies, human ships, human people living their lives without fear. Dr. Beak found him there an hour later. Do you think this will last? She asked. Peace, I mean. Do-hyun thought about the question. He thought about Molag's laughter in the Great Hall. He thought about the burning surface of Proxima 4. He thought about the fear in the alien's eyes when the silent dawn appeared. Peace is not given, he said finally. It is earned. It is protected. It is fought for every single day. We have shown the galaxy what happens when they hurt us. Now we must show them what we can build, what we can create, what we can become when we are not fighting for survival. He turned to face her. Will it last? I do not know. But I know this. We are no longer invisible. We are no longer weak. We are no longer insects to be stepped on. We are humanity. And the galaxy will never forget us again. The stars burned cold and eternal outside the window. Somewhere far away, Earth was spinning through space. Its people looking up at those same stars with new pride. They had been mocked. They had been humiliated. They had been attacked and killed and called pests. And they had answered. Not with words. Not with pleas. With power. With justice. With fire from the heart of a star, the story would spread across the galaxy. It would be told in 1,000 languages on 1,000,000 worlds. The story of the day humanity stopped hiding. The story of the silent dawn. The story of how the insects became gods. And somewhere in the darkness between stars, 11 more ships waited in silence. Invisible and patient and ready for whatever came next. Humanity was watching now. And they would never look away again.